So, what is the ROI on marriage, especially as an agency owner or an entrepreneur in the online space? What has been the return on investment of me getting married? Well, at times, I'll be frank with you, it's been pretty shit. Okay. Marriage for most of my life was a drain on me, on my system. There's a lot of time, a lot of emotional energy going into it, and frankly, I wasn't getting very much out of it. And so, if you're watching this and you are not married, wait before you come to any conclusions because I'm going to make a case on why marriage still is actually one of the best things that you could possibly do. I'm not a fan of Bill Gates, but he's married. Okay. So is Grant Cardone. So is Tony Robbins. I like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone, by the way. What I'm trying to get to over here is that, as cliche as it sounds, behind every successful man is a woman, a good woman. But then it's a double-edged sword. For me, it really was as well because I had a good woman, but because I was treating her crappy and I wasn't showing up as a good husband, the marriage really, really started draining me, man. I mean, there were stages in my agency journey where I just was almost divorced and my health was deteriorating. I was getting burnt out. My wife and I were at each other's throats, and even though I was making more money than ever, she was just very insecure. I mean, I grew my agency to um, over 40 employees, and yeah, we were doing about almost $3 million a year. And yeah, it just sucked. And it was compounding the problems in my marriage. So I want to share with you how I figured out to make marriage work for me and how it could work for you as well. Okay. So basically, the biggest thing with marriage, let's talk about the benefits of it, right? Is that it provides this like emotional armor. Okay, let's go into that real first. Emotional armor. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so guys, we're not as unemotional and cold and stoic as we may want to think. There's still stuff that goes on inside us, okay? So what ends up happening is that, these are clouds and they form around us in our lives, like the sadness, the grief, the worry of running a business and, life with our parents. And these are all these clouds that happen. And so in many ways, we go through a lot of turmoil and life can be very tumultuous. But having a very, very good wife, what it actually ends up doing is it starts sort of counteracting some of those clouds. And what the woman becomes in our life is oftentimes like this source of really love and joy, like this ray of sunshine. Again, if this is a good, healthy relationship, right? Because it helps us part through our emotions and helps us feel seen and really makes us feel happy, really happy. These are the good times with my wife, okay? The other thing is that it's this accountability engine because now I realize that after getting married, I'm not just doing this for myself. I'm doing this for a cause that's greater than me, okay? Because I don't want to disappoint God. I don't want to disappoint my wife's family. I want to be accountable. I want to give her the life that I promised her. So really, it becomes this virtuous cycle where I'm able to pour into her, right? Make W wife, and then it's like she pours that emotional goodness into me, the husband, or H for Hamza, and it becomes this virtuous cycle that I just want to continue to feed. And there's this accountability where it's like, hey, I have to take care of you, and then you take care of me. I take care of you, you take care of me. May sound a little bit transactional, but in many ways, a lot of relationships do start off that way. A little side tangent. I learned that relationships they generally start off as being very, very um, selfish actually. It's more like what can I take from you, what can you take from me. When I met my wife, she's and still is very beautiful, but I wanted to be seen with the beautiful girl next to me. I wanted to kind of get those the be the object of admiration and praise, and maybe even by other women and other guys, and be like, wow, he has such a beautiful woman, and what's so special about him, and she's taller than him, and all these things, right? Then the second stage of a relationship that happened for me was the relationship of it being transactional, where it was, hey, I can do this for you, you could do this for me. He's like, hey, I'm going to provide money for you, you provide love and safety. You cook my meals, and I'll take care of the bills, etc., etc. And so that goes through a very transactional phase. And then eventually, the last stage of a relationship, which is where I'm at right now with my wife, is that, hey, I'm a soul and you're a soul in this world, and I just want to help you navigate through this world. And so that's the stage that we want to eventually get to. But really, what we're talking about over here is just the ROI on business, right? And so beyond it being emotional armor for you to also then be able to take on the challenges of business better and not be so clouded by things, the accountability there, I think, I believe helps us as entrepreneurs want to make more money and to do better and to just improve ourselves so we can provide better for our families ultimately, right? And so really the balance multiplier as well, because I see so many entrepreneurs, what this means is that they're unbalanced, right? They're just constantly focused on business, right? On business, that's one of their big focuses. They're focused on maybe they're focused on their health, that's great and everything. But really beyond business and health, and for a lot of guys, it's not even health, it's mainly just business. What I found is that when I was focusing on just myself, I was on business and health, and I was growing and doing self-development. That's great. But then I think that's a very, very narrow focus. It's kind of what I found is these are my eyes over here, and what I was doing is that I was just focusing on the wall that was in front of me, like the painting that is in front of me. And I was looking at, oh, I want like a seven-figure business. And I was just so obsessed with this wall, this painting that was on the wall in front of me. I was just looking at this and I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I want. This is what I want. But then I was unable to really zoom out and see the bigger picture and realize that, okay, well, there's all these other things as well that I want, right? I want to be able to start a family. I want to be able to serve. I want to be able to give back. Sorry if this yellow is just very light. But yeah, I want to be able to give back and I want to be able to, spend time with my parents and I want to be able to go and explore and travel and do all these other things. And so I wasn't very balanced. And I know that a lot of individuals say that you screw your 20s, you got to grind it out, and screw your 30s, grind out. You're young, do all this, and that. But tomorrow isn't promised, right? Tomorrow is not promised, and so that's why, especially even in the Islamic tradition, they call marriage to complete half of your religion, right? Half of your relationship with God, half of your religion is contained within the world of relationship and marriage. Why? Because, marriage is a personal growth vehicle at the end of the day. If you think about what marriage really truly is, it's a mirror. It's a mirror that it shows us who we really are. And so, who am I outside of the relationship? I can be stingy. I can be impatient. I can be fearful. I can be prideful. I can be controlling. These are all things that I learned about myself by being married. And so that's why I said that better than any, mentorship program, better than any coaching program, better than any of those, I think marriage is one of those things. Okay, marriage is absolutely one of those things. And so the positive ROI that I've received on my business has really been because of being married, because my wife has shown me all these different things that I was, right? Stingy, impatient, fearful, prideful. And guess what, my friend? If you're stingy, impatient, fearful, prideful in the relationship, then is that not how you're going to be in the business? Because the business is really just a manifestation of me, right? The business is basically a outward representation of all my characteristics. And so if I have a marketing agency in, say, the lawyer niche where I'm serving leads to lawyers, and then, Bob starts his marketing agency serving leads to lawyers as well, we're going to have different results. Even if we have the same product, the same client acquisition, the same everything, results are going to be different because they are different leaders sitting in the driver's seat of that business, me versus him. And I'm different. My problems, my challenges are uniquely different. And so if there have been ways of being in the business, or really specifically, if the business has been stalled in some way, revenue wise, or it hasn't been growing, then guess what? It's probably because there are some internal issues that are occurring that are causing the business to be stuck. And I really, really believe that there are very few vehicles in life that serve as a great mirror. I do believe business is one of them, but I also believe marriage is another one of them. I think marriage is something very, very powerful, and I think many guys that are actually willing to throw in the towel and then want to get divorced and think that they're just going to start something new. Guess what? I was one of them, right? I was one of those guys that thought that, okay, well, now that I've made some cha-ching, some money, it's maybe time for me to move on, and maybe the type of woman that I attracted and was into and brought into my life at the time when I had, not very much money, when I had zero, basically, maybe this caliber is not that great. And so what I may be looking for now is basically this over here, the grass. The grass is greener on the other side of this hill. I'm over here and I'm looking over here and I'm like, oh, it must be so nice over here. When really, The grass is greener right where you water it. Okay, so this is what I realized in my relationship. The grass was always greener where I watered it, right? I mean, if I put a bunch of my focus and attention over here, there'd be not before long, it would end up in the same way that my relationship might be now. Okay, and so this message goes out to you. If you think that somehow, one, marriage is going to drain you, it's true, it could be bad for you, um, but only if you don't water it, right? And so if you're married right now and it's bad for you, it's because you're probably not watering it. And I know that watering the marriage for me specifically, and this again ties directly into the idea of having an ROI for your business, was going on date nights every single week. It was going on walks, is having flirty conversations, helping in the home. Right? How often was I doing the dishes or expecting my wife to do the dishes just because she didn't work? Helping at home. Writing letters, sending photos, and then reaffirming. This is a big one. Reaffirming that I want to only be with you. This is so important, man. I can't tell you how many times my wife just wants to hear how badly I love her and how much I just want to be with her and only her. Because guess what, man? As we grow as entrepreneurs, you know what ends up happening? This is what ends up happening is we end up rising way, way, way above the masses, right? The masses are down over here, and we were there over there as at one stage as well. But then we start rising above, and then there's like just a few people over here in this category. And then as we rise higher and higher, there's like even few people in this category. And it's like, okay, our wives know that we're different. Our wives know that we're creating something that's, powerful, like the SMMA, the agency that we have or the business that we have. Really anything that you run right now and you're watching this, it's like our wives know that, we've been able to create income and do things that not a lot of men do. A lot of men are clocking in, clocking out, working 9 to 5, running the rat race, and we aren't doing that. And so we've inherently become more valuable. And guess what, right? Like as men age, they become more valuable in society's eyes, and as women age, they become less valuable. And this even in itself is like a trope, right, that we fall into. Because truthfully, as time goes on, our women are investing into our families and they're investing into our children, and so they actually become more and more valuable. Actually, I think it's even more like this. It's like a curve, infinitely more valuable, because it's like over time, there's no one that knows you and your unique quirks and worries and difficulties the way that you do. And the more successful you become, the harder it actually becomes to attract a woman that's really there for you. And so in my case, I met my wife when I was 18, when I was in college, struggling, just only had pipe dreams and had nothing else. And so why would I let her go? Why wouldn't I pour more into her? And so that's the message over here that I'm actually giving to myself. Even it's a reminder that I can become very addicted to the outside validation of status and money and material and power and, revenue and clients and employees and freaking masterminds and all this crap, when really the best ROI that I've ever gotten was my wife. Right? She was there for me when we first got married. She was working her ass off, and she was the one who was providing for us, right? I was making no money in my business. And so it's like, why would I stop pouring into this over here? I'll make more videos as well in the future of the relationship that we have with our moms. This is a very deep relationship. There's a lot of like psychoanalytical and, Jungian psychology that goes into our relationships with our moms. But for the time being, if you are in a relationship, this is one of the best things that you can do, is just focus on the relationship. And I know, as I mentioned, I grew a multi seven-figure agency, and my relationship has been one of the best things ever. So just to recap over here, right, the benefits of relationship, it's the emotional armor. It becomes this accountability tool, and then also helps us be more balanced as men, and then zoom out and see what really matters in life, and not just chase the money and the revenue. And really, it helps us complete half of our religion, because it becomes this mirror where we get to improve ourselves, and then that becomes this virtuous cycle that feeds directly into our business, right? Into our business over here. And it ultimately allows us to get the best ROI. So, married or not married, I would highly focus on this. And of course, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the comments section. Peace.